And I finally thought, I've tried everything else. Maybe I should try this Christianity. And up there in the mountains by myself, I ultimately prayed and said, Lord, I want to be a Christian. I want to be saved. Will you forgive my sins? I didn't even know how to pray because I didn't go to church. But I did my best, and everything changed. I had a little different upbringing than most people. My parents were uniquely different and fairly successful people. My father, after World War II, he started to buy and sell planes, and he ended up becoming very successful in the aviation industry until at one point he owned 2 airlines, had a lot of money. But I could see growing up he wasn't happy. He pretty much had to drink himself to sleep every night. And my mother was very successful in show business. People in Hollywood were her friends. We knew them. And these were Academy Award winners, famous people. And we could see growing up that a lot of these people were not happy. A lot of divorce and remarriage, a lot of drugs, even some suicide. And so growing up, pretty much an atheist, I thought, what's the purpose in life? Money doesn't bring happiness. Fame doesn't seem to bring happiness. And I thought, there's no God. You just die and you turn back into dirt, and that's your life. And it seems so meaningless. So I was one of these young people that got into a lot of trouble. I thought about suicide. I got involved in drugs. I got involved in crime. I didn't need the money. I was just looking for the excitement. I was arrested 2 or 3 times and put in jail for petty crimes. And by the time I was 15, I ran away from home. At this time, I moved up into the mountains. I thought I'm going to find God in nature. And so I moved way up in the mountains above Palm Springs, and I lived in a cave like a hermit by myself. And someone had left a Bible in the cave. I was by myself. I had hours up there. And I read through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I was so impressed with the teachings of Jesus. One of the things that surprised me is that I had heard statements from the Bible all my life, and I didn't know they were from the Bible. Things like handwriting on the wall, or by the skin of your teeth, or going the 2nd mile, or throwing the first stone, and just all these, turning the other cheek. I'd heard all these things and said, oh, Jesus said that. I had no idea. He was so brilliant. So when I got done reading the Bible, I thought, what do I do? Jesus said, I'm God. One Bible verse that meant a lot to me is in Jeremiah chapter 29, and it's verses 11 through 13, where in summary God says, I know the plans that I have for you, plans of peace and not harm, to give you a future and a hope. And then he says in verse 13, you will search for me and you will find me when you search for me with all of your heart. I just found that as I was searching for God, he was not very far. The Bible says he's not very far from any one of us. And I finally thought, I've tried everything else. Maybe I should try this Christianity. And up there in the mountains by myself, I ultimately prayed and said, Lord, I want to be a Christian. I want to be saved. Will you forgive my sins? And everything changed. And one little interesting story is I was so excited because I felt like now I found the purpose to life, that God has a plan, that life is not an accident. And I was wondering, Lord, what is my plan? What do you want me to do? I started feeling that God wanted me to share with others, what he had done for me, and to tell the other good news I had learned to other people. I didn't know how that would ever happen. Now you got to keep in mind, I'm a hermit. I live in the mountains because I don't want to be around people. I like being by myself. And I was intimidated to speak publicly. And so I said, all right, Lord, if you want me to tell other people, you have to give me some kind of sign. I used to go to town once or twice a week, and I'd panhandle or work and get some money and go back to the cave. And I called my mother. She was in Beverly Hills. I used to call her and just check in, tell her I'm alive and well. So I called her. She said, Doug, are you going to be around next week? I said, yeah, I'm in the cave. I'm not going anywhere. She said, I want to come see you. I was having lunch with a producer from NBC, National Broadcasting in North America. And I said, yeah, my son, his dad's a millionaire and he's living in a cave. And he thought that'd be a great human interest story. She said, we'd like to come and he wants to interview you. I said, well, Mom, you can't get to the cave. It's really steep, it's difficult, it's hard, it's dangerous. She said, no, they're going to rent a helicopter and fly up there. And so within a few days of my asking, Lord, do you want me to tell anybody else these things? God sent a national film crew to my cave up in the mountains and interviewed me in my cave. I mean, no one would have ever been able to find this place. And it was on national TV 3 times in the news that day. And I thought, wow. And so I started praying and just saw God continue to open doors where I had dropped out of high school. I eventually got my high school diploma. I was able to go back to college. I got involved in pastoring and evangelism and public ministry, and just a long series of miracles where, ultimately I was invited to join Amazing Facts about 25 years ago, and now am connected with an international evangelistic missionary training ministry. So I never would have dreamed, but God does amazing things.